G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. club. And it's Tuesday, Christmas week. We're finishing up today, so I've just come for an early lunch, and I thought I'd come down here and just check out the Harbour Bridge against that steely grey sky. As you can see, it's overcast. The wind has changed direction. It's more of a gentle southerly breeze at the moment. But it's been a fairly wet month here in December, and not much of a summer at all. So we'll see where it leads in January, February. But last year was very, very dry, very, very hot, and characterised by bushfires and smoke. Whereas this year the things are very, very different. And it just goes to show that everything varies, as it always has, and nothing changes very much over the years, regardless of what the alarmists try and tell us and convince us. This is exactly how things were when I was growing up. Australia was characterised by drought, flood, drought, flood, drought, and it's always been the same. So I look out there, I can see Fort Denison still above the surface of the water. So the ocean hasn't risen by any significant amount over the past 200 years, and I'm sure that in 1,000 years, anybody standing where I'm standing here will probably be able to look at my video and say, well, nothing much has changed all that significant anyway. But time will tell, and I won't be around to be answerable, but that's just my idea on this topic. Anyway, let's go for a walk and talk. As you can see, it's pretty quiet down here, nothing much happening at all. With COVID-19, the city's gone into a bit of a lull at the moment, as you'd expect, but we'll get on top of it. So the book summary that I want to cover today is an absolute cracker. It's called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield. I haven't read any of his material before, but this book is brilliant, just like every book. I don't think I've ever come across a book where I haven't picked out something which has been transformational, something that will change my life, something that will allow me to join a dot to another dot, or a few dots. But everything you read, everything you come across, all the OPE, the other people's experience, is quite valuable and very powerful. So the author kicks off with a bold statement, as you'd expect from a book like this, that we all need to take responsibility for everything we experience in our lives. That's a beauty. I like that one there. So, he goes on to the point, and this is very valuable. This is very powerful. That he suggests, and he basically calls to action, that everything you think, say, or do needs to become intentional and aligned to your highest purpose, your values, and your goals. So there you go. There's a lot of people who just live and drift through their lives, whereas the author here is suggesting that everything we do needs to be aligned to our values, our goals, our dreams, and our actions, and aligned to our highest purpose. Pretty powerful stuff. I doubt that too many people spend a lot of time trying to do an alignment audit and see how things are tracking. But the author is suggesting here, if you want to be the best you can possibly be, that it's something that you seriously need to do on a regular basis and incorporate it into your daily, weekly, monthly and annual routines, especially this time of year when we've got New Year's around the corner, where we can organised to have some goals and dreams set up for the coming year, and hopefully make 2021 much better, much better than 2020. So the next one is a beauty. He says we need to replace complaining with making requests and taking action. So stop the whinging and whining, stop the complaining is what the author is calling people to do. And that he also goes on to say that we need to understand that we've got control over three things in our life, according to this author. Control over three things in our lives, and the control that we have is over the thoughts we think. We can exert some sort of control over the thoughts we think, the images we visualize, so you can shape those images or determine where you're going to point your lens. You know, you can point it to the flower, or you can point it to the dog shit, I guess is another way, or an abrupt way of suggesting it. But you can point and shape what you're looking at, what you're visualizing, what you're looking at. And the third thing is we can control, to a certain extent, the actions that we take. Pretty awesome, and pretty what's the word I'm looking for? You know, pretty logical sort of stuff. So there's nothing dramatic there. There's nothing out of the ordinary in terms of what he's saying. Then he introduces the law of attraction, which a lot of people don't get. A lot of people talk about the law of attraction, but I've got a feeling that a lot of people don't really understand it all that well. But this author is able to talk about it in a way which makes it pretty simple and actionable at the same time. So in his words, he says that the law of attraction is basically what you think about, what you talk about, what you believe, what you strongly believe about, and what you feel intensely about, you'll bring about. So it's basically suggesting that we are what we focus on. And if you're clever enough to understand that, if you're naive enough to understand it, because you need to be fairly naive in order to be able to use a lot of this stuff, because if you think about it too much, your thinking will absolutely undermine you and destroy the power of these techniques. But you need to be believing, you need to be childlike, you need to be, I guess, naive is one way of saying it, but naive in a powerful way, not naive in a stupid or a dumb way, if you know what I mean. So the important thing we have to learn, as the author says, is that you can never ever lose your mastery. So whatever you learn in life, whatever education you acquire, you can never lose that. You know, it's there for good. It's an investment in your personal development, which you can never lose. You can lose your house, you can lose your car, you can lose your friends, you can lose your partners. But the one thing that nobody can ever take away from you are your experiences, your education, and your mastery. Whatever you've mastered, whatever you've focused on, whatever you've become a leader in your field in, you have that to your very, very last days. So you have to also understand that mastery is not enough. The author makes a very strong point, and I've never quite thought of this in this term before, but he makes a very powerful point, saying that the world will never pay you for what you know. The world will only reward you for what you know and do. That's why, the world is full of scientists, professors, people who are very, very opinionated on lots of things. But at the end of the day, unless you do something about it, unless you apply that knowledge, the world is not going to acknowledge you. It's not going to reward you in any way, shape or form. If anything, it'll just look at you as being an abject failure, because you know all this stuff, but you don't do anything about it. So once again, there's another subtle call to action, saying that here we are, we're learning all this stuff, but unless you do something with it, it's an absolute waste of time and waste of effort. So do something with it. So everything you experience today is a result of past choices, and we get that. So when you change, and this is another powerful point, when you decide to change, when you decide to do something with the knowledge that you have, so when you change, with your change, the world around you changes for you. Let's just say that again. When you change, when you decide to change, the whole world changes for you. Pretty powerful. Anyway, let's continue walking and talking, and I'll progress a little bit further. And the author then says something that we all know, that complaining, whinging, whining, externalizing is all a waste of time and really ineffective. So just drop it. Stop whinging, whining and complaining. You're just not going to get anywhere with it. You're just going to turn people off, and you're just going to be somebody that everybody wants to avoid, because nobody wants to hear about your problems. Nobody wants to hear about your challenges unless you are prepared to do something about it. So the author says, if you don't like it, fix it or leave it. Don't just bloody talk about it. Don't just talk about it all the bloody time, because it's boring. It's painful. It's draining to hear people saying the same thing over and over again without wanting to do something about it. So the author then says that in order to change your results, okay, in order to change the results that you're getting, you need to change your behaviors and your actions. Remembering, you have to change your behaviors and you have to change your actions. Nobody else has to do anything else. Nobody else has to change. You have to change. Very, very powerful. And the author then introduces to us the 30-30-30 rule. So you need to identify the following 30 things in your life. You need to identify, write down and journal the 30 things you want to do in your life. The 30 things you want to have in your life, and the 30 things you want to be in your life before you die. That's a powerful exercise, something to contemplate, something to do. And it's excuse me. And it's probably something you may want to do this time of year, leading into New Year's, and prepare yourself for New Year's Eve. Because the author then talks about the fact that we have the wheel of life, which we need to balance. So we need to bring the following areas of our life into balance. And it needs to be done at the same time. You just can't do it one by one, because when you change one area of your life, other areas of your life change and need to be recalibrated as well. So the author talks about work, finance, recreation, health, relationships, personal goals, and contribution to a larger community. Other people have a few more. I've seen versions of the life wheel which has 10 pieces to the pizza, and it varies. But anyway, pick one that works for you, and then what you need to do is to identify goals, dreams and actions that you need to do in each of those areas. So the author then also goes on and says another thing which I love, I absolutely love. And he says that you don't need to live compromise. You don't need to compromise everything in your life. Life doesn't need to be a compromise, because if you're living in compromise, then you'll end up feeling empty and unfulfilled. You know, if you're living a life and your life's worth living, why not go for everything that you want and to try and get it all at the same time? You know, rather than compromise, rather than not live a full life. You know, fair enough, you may not get all those things that you want, but at least if you're going for it, at least if you know that it's something that you've got your sights on and you are having a crack at it, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't get there. It doesn't matter if you don't achieve all of those things. As long as you're having a go and you're not being constricted, you're not being strangled by what other people think, say or do, and you're free to try and chase the dreams that you have for yourself. So you really need to do the things you truly, really want to do, and not at any point in time to accept or be second best. Because as the author suggests and says, we live in a world of abundance. There's more than enough to go around. There's more than enough for each and every one of us. As long as we know what we want and we fair dinkumly go after it, as opposed to just write it down or say it or dream about it without getting off our bums and trying to do something about it. So the author then calls us to action again. And he said that you need to live with high intention. High intention. You need to know what you want and you need to go after it. But you also need to live with low attachment, because it doesn't matter if you get it or if you don't get it. But as long as you know what you're going for, the intention is there, then if you miss the mark or if you don't get it, then you're not going to feel bad about it, because you've ticked it off your list, so to speak. You've got it off your plate. You've got it off your chest. You haven't had anybody tell you you can't do it, you can't have it, to make you want it even more. You know, you've been free to go for it. You've given it a crack, and either you got it or you didn't get it. As long as you're on the path to getting there, and only you know which path it is and what you want in terms of getting there. And it's always good to have good mentors about, or to identify people who you want to try and emulate and to be like. You know, by all means, everybody is good at something. Everybody has a strength. Everybody has something that we all want. And the bottom line is that we can all get it. We can all get what they have, as long as we have the right mentors and we are able to mirror as best we can the actions, the values and the things, the steps that they take on a regular basis to get what they have. So we need to get out of denial, is the last thing that the author talks about. We need to stop denying and living in denial and get real. We've got to get real, we've got to get raw, and we've got to be honest with ourselves, and not to live in a fantasy world. You know, as we said, be real with yourself and know what you want and commit to it and go after it. And don't expect anybody to help you. Don't expect anybody to make the road easy for you, but be ready to put in the work and do whatever you need to do to achieve the dream, to achieve your calling or callings, and to go along your merry way. And the last thing the author talks about is the importance of being teachable, because life's going to teach us a lot of lessons. We're going to have a lot of lessons along the way, and we need to be teachable. We need to be open. We need to be malleable. We need to allow ourselves to be bent and stretched in order to grow, develop, and become the person that we are destined to become. And also to know that we need to also have, as part of our armoury, a no exceptions rule. If you've set yourself on a path and you've committed to something, then you need to be dogged in your approach, and you need to have no exceptions. If you're saying that you're not going to have chocolate, if you're saying that you're not going to have carbs, if you're saying you're going to drink 3 litres of water a day, if you're saying that you're going to go to the gym every day, or if you say whatever, you know, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, whatever you decide to do, make sure that you preempt the failures by having no exceptions. Don't allow yourself to have any exceptions once you set a rule in place, so that you can just stick to your guns and do whatever you've said you're going to do, and to deliver on your promises. So thank you once again, everybody, for joining me on Jim's 5am Club. It's another powerful edition, and I really enjoyed delivering this book summary from Jack Canfield on the success principles. He's also written or itemised 76 success principles, which I'll do in another episode of this Jim's 5am Club, and they all are immensely powerful. And if everybody, or all the young people out there, can get their head around what each of these principles are and incorporate them in their inventory of skills going forward, then they may be in a much better position to be able to actualise their dreams, and to make real the things that they want in their lives, because there is a process, there is a recipe for success, and just like a cooking recipe, you've got to have the right ingredients, the right processes, the right equipment, or the right team around you, and once you're committed to it and follow it to the letter of the law, then you're going to achieve the outcomes that you desire. So thank you once again. We'll chat again. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, and let's take some of these principles from this wonderful book and learn to avoid complaining, to introduce the law of attraction to our lives, and to understand that we have control over 3 things in our lives: the thoughts we think, the images we visualize, the actions we take, and what you think about, what you talk about, what you believe strongly about, and what you feel intensely about, you will bring about. Thank you once again, and I look forward to coming to you again tomorrow from a different location with a different message of empowerment from this wonderful city of Sydney. And hopefully we can share these wonderful experiences. We can go on a walk and talk as a parea and learn and grow, and hopefully get ourselves through the morning, through the day, and to once again acknowledge that this day is indeed very special. This day will never ever come back again in our lives, and what we don't do today will never ever get to do today ever again. So make the most of your today. Taleme, Vilakya, love to everybody, and we'll chat again from Jim on Jim's 5am Club. Bye for now. Yasas.